Thank you. So what I'm hearing clearly, there's a lack of will, there's a lack of awareness, perhaps lack of knowledge, a lack of enlightenment. All these all factor in why we are not tackling these diseases and raising awareness as much as we should. Konrad Reinhart, what is your assessment? What is your evaluation? Why? The numbers speak volumes here. Why aren't we paying the attention that we need to?
In the case, it works. In the case of sepsis, people don't know what sepsis is. And there were no numbers, but there are numbers now, and they are staggering. It's according to the Global Burden of Disease report, it's 11 million per year. And it's 49 million cases. And the 6.5 million deaths from COVID-19 are deaths from sepsis because there's something called viral sepsis, which is not known to a lot of politicians, even not a lot of infectious disease people took up the definition of sepsis, which was also put out in the WHO sepsis resolution already in 2017. So that's one issue. And when we did polls in 2003 on what lay people would know about sepsis, in most countries, less than 10% heard about it, knew what it is. And this has improved. We just did in Berlin, in Germany, a poll, and also asked the question, how many percent would know that COVID-19, the final cause of death, as of most, including often TB and HIV, is sepsis. And this is not known. And only 10%, after 2 years of this pandemic, don't associate sepsis with COVID-19 with sepsis. And the reason for this is that things happen only in these countries if there's a lobby. And infectious disease, as such, has no lobby. In contrast to cancer, which is great. The cancer people in the 40s asked for a moonshot for cancer, for a Manhattan Project for cancer, rightly. And they made a difference, and there was progress. And ironically, the success that was achieved in infectious diseases in the 19th century to 1950, which resulted in a decrease of the crude death rate in the US, which was 800 per 100,000 inhabitants in 1900, to below 50 per 100,000. And this led to the notion that the book of infectious diseases could be closed. And that's why no education, etc., etc. And WHO rightly says, most of the sepsis deaths are preventable by education, and we should follow along these lines. And it's the number one of cost driver in the US with 60 billion. 60 billion. Yeah, it's 11 billion at least in Germany. And this is not known to policemen, and this we need to end.
Says the founding president of the Global Sepsis Alliance, trying to enlighten people on this issue, which many, certainly I myself, did not know enough about prior to preparing for this very panel. Ricardo, you are passing it right on to Konrad.
Yeah, just again to get some numbers right. So sepsis as a common cause of any infection, including malaria, etc., is a major cause in the low-income countries. So more than 80%. The incidence in sub-Saharan Africa is in some countries above 3,000 per 100 inhabitants, compared, and we know now about incidences, and you should know also about the incidence of tuberculosis. So we should not compete one infectious disease against the other. And the big theme here was overcoming silos and understand that things happen in our world only when policymakers have understood, as they have pretty late with COVID-19, which is just one pandemic, just to reiterate this, as any other pandemic, is as dangerous as it is because it leads to death. And as I said, the mechanisms that lead to death is multiple organ failure. And this applies whether you have a wound infection from bacteria, or whether you have influenza, or whether you have COVID or Ebola or yellow fever, etc., etc. And that the word is not understood, and we have now upcoming medications who are able to address this overshooting immune response, which are out already and come out in the Lancet within the next 2 weeks, which demonstrated that, for example, the mortality rates can be decreased by over 40% in the sickest one. And that's why one understands what the difference is between an uncomplicated infection and sepsis, which we kill ourselves, or our body kill themselves due to this overshooting immune response. And it's great that sepsis has made it now to the G7, and that the G7 ministers of health are dedicated to boost this implementation of the request of the WHO sepsis resolution. And it should get also on the agenda of the H20, because only then, and this was set out by Sir Liam Donaldson, things will only happen when sepsis comes into the political space and the public in order to things to change. And this applies for any disease, and we must not forget this.
And